endowed by our Creator, defined in our state and nation's Constitution, but defended each and every day by the men and women who wear the uniform of these United States. Today, and appropriately every day, we say thank you. Thank you on behalf of a grateful state and a grateful nation. Thank you not only to all of you here, but to over 400,000 veterans in the great state of Wisconsin. Nearly 300,000 who've served in combat, and over 56,000 who are disabled veterans. Thank you to you and to everyone you represent here today for your service to our country. In addition to our thanks, I ask you to join with me as well and continuing to pray and lift up in our thoughts those men and women who continue to serve our country, particularly those from Wisconsin. General Dunbar mentioned in his comments the massive legacy of individuals who've served since 9/11, many of whom are still serving today in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, and some that we just visited coming back from Kosovo and elsewhere around the globe. I'd add a number to that, 163. That's the number of men and women from Wisconsin, either through the Guard, active duty, or in one way or the other related to Wisconsin, who paid the ultimate sacrifice since 9/11. Now, I'm not much of a wristband wearer, but there are two bands on my arm today, bands that parents of soldiers who died since 9/11 from Wisconsin asked me to wear. And today, I look at those bands not just to remember them, but all the others from this great state who paid that ultimate sacrifice. And we take it a step further. Not just those young men and women who made that sacrifice since 9/11 of 2001, but all those who've made that sacrifice all the way back to the start of this incredible country. Today, we remember their lives, their spirit, and their commitment. But we remember not only them, we remember the men and women who served alongside them, who were willing to make that same sacrifice, but God willing, were able to come home and rejoin family and friends and communities, and who continued to serve, but who never forgot those fellow service members who paid that ultimate sacrifice. Today, we say thank you. Today and every day, we should say thank you. And today, again, I ask that you continue to join with me in supporting those men and women who serve and continue to serve. You see, as you know, many of those soldiers and airmen and others have been deployed 2 or 3 or 4 or more times throughout the past few years. People will ask, where do they get that courage from? How do they do that? Well, in addition to having strong support not only from their colleagues, but particularly from their family and loved ones, it's a part of who we are. At the start of the Civil War in 1861, Wisconsin was just barely a dozen years old. We were a small state relative to others. There were only 775,000 people in the entire state. We were far removed from the fighting. And yet, 91,000 plus, more than 91,000 soldiers from this state fought and served our country in the Civil War, 12,000 of whom never made it home alive. That was 1 out of every 9. 1 out of every 9 man, woman, or child at the time fought in the Civil War to defend the freedoms we talk about so frequently here and in other ceremonies. I remind you of that today because when people ask me, when members of the media and others ask, where do those soldiers and airmen and others from Wisconsin get the courage to go off on multiple deployments, I say it's simple. It's who we are, not just as Americans, it's who we are as men and women from Wisconsin. It goes back to the Civil War. It continued in World War I and in World War II and in the Korean War and in Vietnam and in Desert Storm and Desert Shield more than 2 decades ago, and today it continues in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and Kosovo and others. It's the courage of our ancestors that inspires our soldiers and airmen and Marines and sailors and members of the Coast Guard yet today. It is that courage that we honor and respect and lift up and ultimately give thanks for in ceremonies like this, but should never limit to halls like this, to memorials or to others, but should freely express to those who've served and those continue to serve each and every day. On behalf of a grateful state and a grateful nation, we say thank you.